Hi, welcome back. This is the third video in this DIGIMAP to AutoCAD series, and this one will finalize things, but we'll firstly bring in some aerial imagery and historic imagery to cover these two 1 kilometer squares. And having the squares here helps us scale the photograph and the historic image correctly. Otherwise, it's a much trickier operation of trying to calibrate using points on the maps, especially the historic, which I've shown earlier really doesn't tally very well anyway. It's difficult to get that to match. So using the Ordnance Survey tiles is a kind of a safer bet, to be honest. So we're back to DIGIMAP now. Go back to the home page. Okay, and this time we'll do it doesn't matter which order we do it in, I may as well go historic next. Okay, so if you haven't, you would have to remember to kind of release this information, accept the conditions, and tell it that you're using it for academic purposes if it's the first time you've visited historic DIGIMAP. Okay, so we want to download data again. Things look a wee bit different now. We've got this kind of timeline across the top here. The closer in you get on cities and towns, you start to see things drop out here. So if it stays grey, it means there isn't any historic information for that particular time. And when it goes white, you find that there is maps available for that period. So there we go. Closer in we go. We're starting to see that. Now, I'm not going to go any closer on this because I've done this a few times, and I know that the reference grids are not really functioning. There's something not quite right here, or whether they just don't appear on the historic anyway. I'm not too sure. So, but we're going to use the tile names again. Okay, but we just have to remember what they were. So it was NO 5016. So it's in this little saved list anyway, but you hopefully you've maybe made a wee note of this anyway. So NO 5016 go. Okay, I'm going to drop back a bit. Okay, so there is information here. It says it's available for 1850s, but I've found that it wasn't really. So 1890s seems to be more feasible. So for this, I'm going to use the county series, and first edition wasn't available, even though it kind of implies that it is, but I'm going to go for this first revision, so it's about 1890 onwards. Okay, so I'm going to add that tile to the basket. Okay, and the theme here, very important, use national grid tiles, add more data, use tile name, and it's the next one along. So it's NO 5116. Excuse me. Okay, and choose the same product, 21 to 2500, first revision, add to basket, theme, national grid tiles. Okay, so we'll give this a download. We'll call it SAH for historic. Okay, we'll request that download. Okay, so we'll do these one at a time, so let's just deal with the historic first. Okay, so we want to check on our email now, see what we've got. There's the first DIGIMAP. These are usually pretty quick to arrive. Yep, there we go. So we download that data. Okay, download, save. Okay, I'm going to launch Photoshop now. I've got that on my desktop. Should have had this ready, to be honest. Okay. So what we need to do here is join the two portions together. Okay. So what we'll do is open both. Oh, I haven't unzipped them yet, have I? That's me bad. So go to my downloads, Okay, there's the information, so we'll process it first before we can open it. So extract all. Okay, and I'm not going to copy the citations file across, I'm just going to take what I need out of it. So I'm going to go into here, and you can see here that the two sheets are there. We can see the numbers 5016 and 5116. So what I'm going to do is copy that and drop it in with this one. So that's the two sheets, and we don't need the time here, but what we'll do is copy just this line. Okay, and I'm going to open the main citations file and paste it in here. Okay, let's close this one and save. Close this one and not save. And goodbye that. Okay, so that's dealt with the citations. We've got them available, and we're looking for TIFF files now. So we'll go into 5, and there's the TIFF file. The other information is useful for GIS software for positioning the information, but we're not using GIS software. So we'll drag the TIFF across. No need to change its name there, it's pretty distinctive. Okay, go back and let's find the other one. There it is. Okay, good. Right, so that folder can close, and we don't need either of those now. They're gone. Yeah, you end up with a lot of clutter that you don't need to keep. So as long as you've got your citations, you know where the data came from, you can use that. So back to Photoshop now, and here's you can see the two files sitting there, 5016 5116. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go with 5016, and we're going to double the area of this, but only in the sideways direction. So that's image, canvas size, lock it on the left, anchor I should say, not lock, anchor it on the left, and change the units to %, and we want 200%. Okay, if you had 4 images to put in line with each other, it'd be 400%. If you had 4 images in a grid, it would be 200% width, 200% height. Get the idea? It's quite easy to do. Okay, we go back to the other side now. Control A, Control C. Back to the first one. Control V, and use your Move tool. And you've got to do this straight away because this file type doesn't create layers. The file depth, the color depth of the file is so low that it doesn't allow layers. Okay, so what we've got to do is bump up the color depth so it can save it as a JPEG. If you needed to do any modification to this, which I don't think you would, you should save as a bitmap. But if it's just going to be kind of dumb information from now on, you need to go to Mode, Grayscale, OK, and then Image Mode, RGB Color. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is do a save a copy, so I don't mess up the originals, and the copy can be a JPEG. Okay, and I'm going to just rename this to Historic 1890 and save. Oh, better save it to the right place. That's not the right place. St Andrews Historic 1890. Save. Okay. No need to keep these. We can just close them. Okay, I'm going to keep Photoshop open because we will need it in a moment for the aerial, and then we'll go back to AutoCAD, create a new layer. Okay, historic, and I'll put 1890 because you might have other layers of different ages. Make it current. Okay, close. And then we attach the image. We can't embed it, we want to attach it. So it's insert, attach. Okay, let's get to the right place. Bit further, my downloads, St Andrews, historic 1890, open. Keep these 2 ticks on. Okay. Okay, your insertion point, the very bottom corner of the white squares, and we set the scale factor by clicking the bottom right corner. So it's the width of the image that sets its scale factor. Okay, that's sitting on top of it's the newest object in the drawing, so it always ends up sitting on top of everything. So we use the draw order command, dr, enter, click the edge of the image, enter twice. Okay, so from this distance, it looks like it's a fairly close match, but closer in, it's pretty way off. But it's still extremely useful for establishing previous uses of buildings or land. It might have been vacant, might have been a bog or something like that, marshland, something. It's really useful information. Railways, things like that, tend to be kind of the land is pretty toxic in railway sidings, so it's useful to know the previous use. So let's just save that. We don't want to have any accidents, and then go and get the aerial photography. So we can close this window, go back to here. Okay, we have to go back to the home page and then go to the aerial imagery, aerial digimap, download data. So it's done exactly the same as the historic. Okay, this time the background is, as you can see, photographic, so we can see the grids there. So a wee bit more useful that we can see the grids. It's always helpful. We're going to use tile names. Okay, so they should be on this list, but if not, it's NO5016. Go. Okay, and we want the product is the latest aerial imagery, high resolution, 25 centimeters, and basically what that means is that if there was a piece of white A4 paper on the pavement when the aeroplane flew over, you would see it. It would be 1 pixel. That piece of A4 paper would probably show up as 1 white pixel, about the size of a magazine. Okay, add that to the basket. Nothing you can change here. Okay, add more data though. Okay, we want to use tile name again. Okay, NO5116. Go. Okay, high resolution, 25 centimeter. Add to basket. Give the download a name. So let's say SAA for aerial. Request download. Okay, and then again, these should be quite quick because they're basically just pulling files from a folder. It's not having to go into the information and trimming it like some of the other data types. So there we go. Both emails are pretty quick. Newest one is your download. Much bigger file. It's full color JPEGs. Save. Okay, and as before, we need to deal with the citations. Okay, so let's extract it first. Okay, open the citations. Okay, you can see here we've got the 2 tile names mentioned again. So I'm just going to copy this and pop it next to that one, and then copy the information without the time slot. Okay, time marker. Copy that, and we'll put it into our main citations so we keep everything together. Okay, good. So I've got contours, master map building heights, historic, and aerial. Close that, save. Use that in a minute. Okay, now we need to locate JPEGs. So there's our JPEG. No need to change its name. It's pretty distinctive already. And then the other JPEG. You know, obviously, if you've got a lot more area chosen, this is a bigger job. We've just gone for 2 squares. Otherwise, the videos would last way too long. Okay, so these 2 files are now deletable. We've got everything we need in our St Andrews folder. We've got to do our Photoshop bit of work now. So we're looking for the 2 JPEGs. Here they are in the middle. Open. We'll use 5016 as the base, image, canvas size, anchor on the left, %, width 200. Okay. Back to this image, Control A, Control C, over to this one, Control V. It is a layer now, so if you muck up the placement first time, it's not a problem. If things aren't clicking into position, then check that you've got snapping active. Make sure the snap is on, view, snap. Okay. No need to flatten it because we're going to quit these without saving, but we will do file, save a copy, and possibly more importantly with this one, if you were going to be doing any editing, say you wanted to, there's now a vacant area, or you want to color in a portion of this to highlight a site, then I would work as a bitmap instead. So file, save a copy, and you could save this to a bitmap. Okay, that allows you to do more editing, whereas bitmap, I can't find you, there you are at the top. Okay, so what we'll say this is aerial BMP, save, 24-bit, that's good. Okay, no need to keep these. Okay, back to AutoCAD. Okay, let's just freeze off the historic for a second. So we actually we'll create a new layer and we can freeze the historic at the same time. So new layer for aerial, make it current, freeze the historic just for the moment. Okay, I'm going to put these back to sorting out by name instead of color. Okay, close that. Then insert, attach, aerial bitmap, open, same method. Okay, insertion point. Now careful here, the scale factor's gone a bit berserk. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press enter and bring it in at the scale that it thinks it should be. So it'll be very small at the moment. So when we brought in JPEG, they kind of behave the same as the historic one did. This bitmap is coming in a bit more problematic. So what we're going to do is a reference scale on this. So the command is scale, SC, enter. Pick the picture, enter. Base point, bottom left. We don't know what scale factor to use. Okay, so I'm going to click on reference. So it's reference, bottom left to bottom right. Now we're in control of it in the same way that we were with the JPEG. Okay, and we can go to the bottom right of the main grid now. Okay, so a wee bit different there. If we'd saved it as a JPEG, we wouldn't have had to do that. Okay, but the BMP file, it's just the way AutoCAD's dealing with the BMP instead of JPEG. It's nothing to do with Photoshop, I don't think. Okay, and then same again, use draw order, DR, enter, pick the photo, enter twice. So really useful for helping you kind of show roof shapes, etc. You can identify where dormer windows are, things like that. You know, again, it's not a perfect match. The topography has been traced from aerial photographs that are older than the one we've just dropped in, so you will never get a perfect match. The Ordnance Survey information is only expected to be about ½ a meter accurate. So you know, when you need much more accuracy, you need to get your site surveyed properly. So laser theodolites, you know, LiDAR, whatever, tape measurements. That's the only way of getting proper accuracy. Okay, so let's just set up a layout quickly just to show you what we could do. And what we'll do is just pick on a street. I'm just going to pick on this one here, North Castle Street, just as an example. So we're going to change this layout to be an A3. So page setup manager, modify. Okay, we'll send this to DWG to PDF. Okay, ISO A3, ISO A3 297/420. We'll have it portrait, and we use a CTB file called black and color. So the first 9 colors are mapped to black ink, and the rest are allowed to stay in color. Okay, with things like the historic images and aerial images, they don't adhere to the CTB file because they're just graphics anyway. So okay, that we could do with a viewport layer. So we'll create a new layer for viewports. Okay, I usually make this a distinctive color, so let's go 191, and we don't want it to print. Don't make it current. Okay. Okay, let's change this viewport onto the viewport layer and make it bigger. Switch ortho off and object snaps off. So we'll fill our piece of paper. We'll leave a bit of space for a title. Okay, double click inside. Okay, let's find our street. Okay, and then a scale for that. I'm just going to type in the scale because it's not a standard one. So Z, enter 1/500 XP, enter. So you notice it's shrunk slightly. It'll either shrink or enlarge depending how far away you were from 1 to 500. If I move that carefully, don't want to disturb the scale, divide 1 by that number and you get 500. If you're going to use that scale a lot, then you should add it as a custom one. Okay, now at the moment it's showing the line work and the aerial photograph, which could be a bit confusing. So if we just wanted the aerial photograph, what I want to do, I don't want to freeze all the layers globally, I want to freeze them in this viewport. So you activate the viewport, use a command called VP layer, enter. I want to freeze everything, so use the star symbol, enter, enter, enter. Okay, now what you do is use this device, use the drop down list to unfreeze the aerial layer in this column, in the 3rd column. Okay, so that's only happening in this viewport. When we go back to the main model, we can see the lines and the aerial, but in the layout inside a viewport we've got more control. Okay, so let's put we title on that. let's say the text is 4 millimeters high. Oops, don't want to be on the aerial layer for this. Let's go to 0. Okay, I'll use dynamic text, height 4. Okay, and this is St. Anne, North Castle Street. Aerial photo, scale 1 to 500. Okay, enter twice. Can move that into position. Okay, and now what we've got to do is not forget the citation. So what I'm going to do first is just draw a bit of text that's quite small. So DT again, height 2, and this kind of sets the current height that multi-line text can use as well. So height 2, rotation 0, just anything will do. Okay, just going to move that away. Then use the then we need to open the citation. So let's find our citations. So this has the aerial imagery. So I'm going to copy that bit of text. Okay, use the MT command. Create a box for the text to go into. Okay, notice the text height is there sitting at 2, ready to go, and then Control V. Okay, hit the tick. If I want that squished up a bit, I can. It acts like a little word processor. If I want to stretch it out, also good. Okay, and I should be able to move that wherever we want. So that's kind of what we need to do. We need to have that citation on there. That's done its job. Okay, so say we want the next sheet to be exactly the same view, but showing the ordnance, showing the master map. Okay, so let's just rename this one. So this one's aerial. Okay, and let's delete the second one. Okay, and we'll copy this one. So you right click it, move or copy, move to end, create a copy. Okay. Okay, so this next one, if we rename this to master map. Okay, and all we need to do is jiggle the layers around. So you double click inside, VP layer, enter, Thor, star, enter, enter, enter. So now we've got, now we just need to get rid of the aerial image. Now remember, the buildings and historic and these contours are still with us. Don't forget about those. Okay, but just now we want to freeze the aerial in this column only. Double click outside. We don't need to see the grid, so that's something to switch off. It's a bit unsightly. Double click. Okay, and then we just change the title. Topographic map. Oh, let's say master map. Let's say master map. Same scale, same position, but the citation would be different. Okay, so we go into here, copy the topography citation, edit the multi-line text, delete the one that's there, paste in the fresh. We've got master map topography. Okay, so let's have a look at that in a print preview. So I'm just going to do plot, preview. Okay, and this is bringing in our CTB file. So I can see all sorts of problems with this already. You know, to make it a cleaner image, I probably wouldn't want the building divisions. We've got problems like this where really that should be trimmed out so the shape of the building is cleaner. Problems like this where there's a bit of thicker line missing. The numbers are untidy. The corners of the streets are very untidy. So if we want to make something a bit more presentable, we then would edit this, but that's for another video. Okay, so I hope that's kind of given you a good idea of how we kind of can compose material together. And then, you know, for the historic, let's just do this just for the sake of it, may as well. Move our copy, move to the end. Okay. Rename to historic. And I'm going to keep the 1890 on it because you may be having more dates. So remember, the historic information's frozen. Okay, so thaw that. Okay. So we've got to watch out here because the historic is visible here now. Now we've thawed it. So let's just make sure it's frozen in this view. So looking for historic, there we go. Want to freeze it in that view. Okay, and here it's the other way around. We want to see the historic but freeze the master map. So as we did originally, it was VP layer, enter, freeze, star, enter, 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 but then use the drop down list to thaw the historic in the third column. Double click outside, rename this, let's say historic 1890, and change the citation. So this is the historic citation. So you see how it can be quite methodical once you get to this stage. If you've been organized with your files, makes it much quicker. Okay, delete that and paste in the fresh. Okay, zoom all when you're in a layout, and that's our 3 maps that all correspond. A3 prints are nice and cheap. You can print them out black and white if you wanted to, instead of having colour. Okay, so I hope that's been useful. Give me any comments you wish. Happy to field any queries. Thanks. Cheerio.